Welcome to the Bible Quiz. Get ready to dive deep into the book of Genesis with our latest challenge, 50 Bible questions true or false. This quiz is designed to test your knowledge of the foundational stories, characters, and events that shape the Old Testament. As we journey through Genesis, you'll explore themes of faith, family, and God's promises. Before we jump into these engaging puzzles, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. By doing so, you'll be the first to know when we release new quizzes, in-depth Bible studies, and engaging discussions. Our content spans a wide range of topics, offering something for everyone interested in deepening their understanding of the Bible. So, are you ready to uncover the hidden truths and test your knowledge of the book of Genesis? Let's embark on this biblical adventure together. Let's get started. Question 1. God created light on day 2. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to the book of Genesis chapter 1, verses 3 to 5, God created light on the first day. He separated the light from darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. On the second day, God created the expanse to separate the waters above from the waters below. Question 2. God created the reptiles and animals on the earth on the sixth day. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. God created reptiles and land animals on the sixth day of creation. He created many types of living creatures, including animals and reptiles, demonstrating the richness of His creation. This is detailed in Genesis chapter 1, verses 24 to 31. Question 3. God created Eve out of earth. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. God did not create Eve out of the earth. Instead, God created Eve from Adam's rib. According to Genesis chapter 2, verses 21 to 22, God caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, and while he slept, he took one of his ribs and fashioned it into a woman, whom Adam later named Eve. This creation of Eve from Adam's rib signifies the special relationship between man and woman in God's plan. Question 4. Adam and Eve had 3 sons named Cain, Abel, and Seth. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. Adam and Eve had 3 sons named Cain, Abel, and Seth. Cain was the firstborn, Abel was the second, and Seth was the third. After Cain killed Abel, Adam and Eve had Seth as a replacement, and through him, the lineage continued. This is detailed in Genesis chapter 4, verses 1 to 25. Question 5. God created humans on the 7th day. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 31, God created humans on the 6th day, after he created the animals and other living creatures. The seventh day was a day of rest, as God had completed his work of creation. This is noted in Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 to 3, where God sanctified the seventh day and rested from all his work. Your journey to never missing a quiz starts with the subscribe button. Click it now and stay connected with us. Question 6. Jordan is a river that does not flow from the Garden of Eden. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 10 to 14, it is stated that a river flowed out of Eden to water the garden, and from there, it divided into 4 branches: Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. The Jordan River is not one of these rivers, indicating that it did not originate from the Garden of Eden. Question 7. God regretted creating man because every intention of his heart was evil. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. God regretted creating man because every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. This regret led God to decide to send a great flood to cleanse the earth, sparing only Noah and his family who found favor in God's eyes. The reason for this drastic action was the increasing wickedness and corruption among humankind. Genesis chapter 6, verses 5 to 6. Question 8. My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, where God decrees that his spirit will not abide in man forever due to their mortal and sinful nature. As a result, God set a limit on human lifespan, capping it at 120 years. This decree came in the context of humanity's increasing wickedness and serving as a precursor to God's judgment through the flood. Question 9. Cain killed Abel in the Garden of Eden. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Genesis chapter 4, verse 8, Cain killed his brother Abel in the field after God accepted Abel's offering, but not Cain's. This jealousy led to violence and marked the first murder in biblical history. Cain's punishment was to become a fugitive and receive a mark from God to protect him from retribution. Question 10. God confused the language of the whole earth at the Tower of Babel. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 to 9, God confused the language of the whole earth at the Tower of Babel. The people of the earth, speaking a single language, attempted to build a tower reaching to the heavens. In response, God disrupted their plans by confusing their language, causing them to scatter over the face of the earth. This confusion and scattering prevented humanity from uniting in rebellion against God. Question 11. Adam named all the animals in the Garden of Eden. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. Genesis chapter 2, verses 19 to 20, God formed the animals and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. Adam's task of naming the animals demonstrated his authority and role as the caretaker of creation. This event took place in the Garden of Eden before the fall of man. Question 12. Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden because they ate from the tree of life. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden because they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and not the tree of life. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 6, they disobeyed God's command, and as a result, God expelled them from the Garden of Eden and placed cherubim and a flaming sword to guard them, kept the way to the tree of life, preventing them from eating from it and gaining eternal life. Question 13. Cain was cursed to be a wanderer after he killed his brother Abel. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. After Cain killed his brother, Abel, God cursed him to be a wanderer and fugitive. Genesis chapter 4, verse 12 states that Cain would no longer be able to yield good crops from the ground, and he would be a restless wanderer on the earth. This curse came as punishment for his act of murder, emphasizing the gravity of his crime. Question 14. Noah's ark was made of cedar wood. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Genesis chapter 6, verse 14, God instructed Noah to build the ark using gopher wood, also known as cypress wood, which was known for its durability. The use of this specific type of wood was part of the detailed instructions given to Noah by God for constructing the ark to withstand the great flood. Question 15. Noah took only 2 of each animal species onto the ark. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Noah did not take only 2 of each animal species onto the ark. According to Genesis chapter 7, verses 2 to 3, God instructed Noah to take 7 pairs of clean animals, 1 pair of unclean animals, and 7 pairs of birds. This arrangement ensured that clean animals would be available for sacrifices after the flood and for sustaining the animal populations on earth. Question 16. God placed a rainbow in the sky as a sign of his covenant with Noah. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. God placed a rainbow in the sky as a sign of his covenant with Noah and all living creatures. This covenant, known as the Noahic covenant, was God's promise never to destroy the earth by flood again, signifying his mercy and commitment to the survival of life on earth. Genesis chapter 9, verses 12 to 17. Question 17. Noah's Ark landed on Mount Sinai after the flood. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Genesis chapter 8, verse 4, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat as the floodwaters receded. This location marked the end of the flood and the beginning of a new chapter in the earth's history, where Noah and his family could repopulate and restore life. Mount Sinai is associated with Moses and the giving of the Ten Commandments, not with Noah's Ark. Question 18. Dove was released from the ark by Noah for the third time. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 8, verses 10 to 12, Noah released the dove from the ark 3 times. The first time, it returned because it found no place to rest. The second time, it returned with an olive leaf, indicating that the floodwaters had begun to recede. The third time, the dove did not return, signaling that the floodwaters had completely dried up and that the earth was ready to support life again. Question 19. Shem saw his father Noah naked. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. After Noah became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent, his son Ham saw him naked and told his brothers. Shem and Japheth, however, acted respectfully by walking backward into the tent to cover their father with a garment without looking at him. This incident led to Noah's curse on Ham's son, Canaan, and highlighted the importance of respect and modesty. Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 to 23. Question 20. Abraham was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Abraham is considered the father of many nations, but not specifically of the 12 tribes. It was his grandson Jacob, also known as Israel, who was the father of the 12 tribes. This lineage and the story of the 12 tribes are detailed in Genesis, chapter 35, verses 22 to 26, and throughout the later parts of Genesis. Question 21. God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. God destroyed the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone because of their extreme wickedness and sinful behavior. This tragic event occurred after God sent angels to Sodom to assess the situation and warn Lot to escape with his family. This destruction is a powerful example of God's judgment against sin. Genesis chapter 19, verses 24 to 25. Question 22. Abraham's son born to Sarah was Ishmael. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Genesis chapter 21, verses 1 to 3, Isaac was the promised son born to Abraham and Sarah in their old age, fulfilling God's covenant. Ishmael, on the other hand, was born to Hagar, Sarah's servant, as recorded in Genesis chapter 16, verse 15. Isaac's birth marked the beginning of the lineage that would lead to the nation of Israel. Question 23. Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. According to Genesis chapter 19, verse 26, Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt when she looked back at the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah as they were being destroyed. Despite being warned not to look back, she disobeyed and faced the consequence of her action. Question 24. Abraham sacrificed his son Isaac on Mount Moriah. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. In Genesis chapter 22, verses 1 to 13, God tested Abraham by asking him to offer Isaac as a burnt offering on Mount Moriah. However, before Abraham could sacrifice Isaac, an angel of the Lord stopped him, providing a ram as a substitute for the sacrifice. This event is a significant demonstration of Abraham's faith and obedience to God. Question 25. God sent 4 angels to Sodom to save people. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to the Bible, God sent 2 angels to Sodom, not 4, to warn Lot and his family about the impending destruction of the city due to the wickedness of its inhabitants. The 2 angels helped Lot and his family escape Sodom before it was destroyed by fire and brimstone. Genesis chapter 19, verses 1 to 29. Question 26. Isaac and Ishmael buried Abraham. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. Isaac and Ishmael buried Abraham. Despite their different mothers and circumstances, they came together to bury their father in the cave of Machpelah, which Abraham had purchased as a burial site. This event reflects a moment of unity between the 2 brothers, even though their respective lineages would lead to different outcomes in biblical history. Genesis chapter 25, verse 9. Question 27. When Jacob blessed Joseph, he compared Joseph to a fruitful vine whose branches climbed over a wall. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. Genesis chapter 49, verse 22, when Jacob blessed his sons, he compared Joseph to a fruitful vine or bough that grows beside a well and whose branches climb over a wall. This imagery in Jacob's blessing signifies the prosperity and success that Joseph would have, reflecting his rise to power in Egypt and his impact on the nation of Israel through his descendants. Question 28. David was circumcised at age 13. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Circumcision was a practice established by God's covenant with Abraham, typically performed on the 8th day after birth for Israelites. Genesis chapter 17, verse 12. The Bible does not mention David's circumcision. Thus, this statement does not align with biblical accounts related to King David. Question 29. Rachel named her first son Joseph. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. Rachel indeed named her first son Joseph. In Genesis chapter 30, verse 24, Rachel, who had been barren, finally bore a son and named him Joseph. Joseph's birth was significant in Jacob's family, eventually leading to Joseph's crucial role in Egypt and the preservation of his family during a famine. Question 30. Nimrod built Nineveh. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 10, verse 11, Nimrod, a great hunter and a descendant of Noah's son Ham, was responsible for building several cities, including Nineveh. Nimrod is described as a mighty hunter before the Lord, and he established various cities in the region of Assyria and Babylonia. Nineveh became a significant city in later biblical history, notably during the time of Jonah. Question 31. Rebekah told Jacob to visit his father to receive a blessing. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 27, verses 5 to 10, Rebekah overheard Isaac planning to bless Esau, so she instructed Jacob to pretend to be Esau by wearing Esau's clothes and covering his hands and neck with goat skin to simulate his appearance hairy figure of Esau visiting his father to receive a blessing. Rebekah's actions caused Jacob to receive blessings through deception. Question 32. Esau was a good farmer. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Genesis chapter 25, verse 27, Esau was a skilled hunter, while his brother Jacob was more of a quiet man dwelling in tents. The distinction between Esau's and Jacob's personalities and skills plays a significant role in their story, with Esau's hunting leading to him selling his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of lentil stew when he was famished after hunting. Question 33. In Pharaoh's dream, there were cows and ears of grain. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In the first dream, he saw 7 healthy cows being devoured by 7 lean cows. In the second dream, he saw 7 healthy ears of grain being swallowed by 7 thin ears of grain. These dreams troubled Pharaoh, leading him to call for Joseph to interpret them. Joseph explained that the dreams symbolized 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine in Egypt. Genesis chapter 41, verses 1 to 7. Question 34. Jacob was embalmed for 33 days. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Genesis chapter 50 verses 2 to 3 describes the embalming process following Jacob's death in Egypt, where Joseph had him embalmed by Egyptian physicians, which took 40 days. The Egyptians mourned for Jacob for 70 days, demonstrating the high regard Joseph held in Egypt, which influenced how they treated his father's passing. Question 35. Father Benjamin gave him a colorful cloak because he loved him the most. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Jacob made a richly ornamented robe for Joseph, his favored son, because he was the firstborn of Jacob's beloved wife, Rachel. This special treatment caused jealousy among Joseph's brothers, leading to their betrayal and eventual sale of Joseph into slavery. Benjamin was Joseph's younger brother, born to the same mother, Rachel. Genesis chapter 37, verse 3. Question 36. Rebekah provided water not only for the man but also for the camel. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 24, verses 15 to 21, when Abraham's servant was seeking a wife for Isaac, Rebekah provided water not only for the servant, but also for his camels. Rebekah's generous actions were the sign he was looking for, confirming that she was the one chosen to be Isaac's wife. Question 37. Jacob had a dream about a ladder reaching heaven with angels ascending and descending. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. This dream occurred as Jacob was traveling to Haran to escape his brother Esau's anger. In the dream, God stood above the ladder and reaffirmed the covenant he made with Abraham and Isaac, promising to bless Jacob and his descendants. This dream is often referred to as Jacob's ladder, symbolizing the connection between heaven and earth and God's continuing promise to the patriarchs. Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 to 17. Question 38. Jacob's family lived in the land of Canaan throughout their entire lives. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Jacob's family eventually moved to Egypt due to the severe famine. This relocation occurred after Joseph, Jacob's son, rose to prominence in Egypt, providing food and safety for his family during the famine. Genesis chapter 46, verses 1 to 7. Question 39. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his brothers before being sold into slavery. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 37, verses 24 to 28, Joseph's brothers threw him into a pit, specifically an empty cistern, before selling him into slavery. The brothers were jealous of Joseph's favored status with their father, Jacob, and his dreams suggesting he would one day rule over them. They initially planned to kill him, but instead decided to sell him to a caravan of Ishmaelite traders who took him to Egypt. Question 40. Joseph, son of Jacob, lived 105 years. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Genesis chapter 50, verse 26, Joseph lived to be 110 years old, which was a significant lifespan in biblical times. Joseph spent a large portion of his life in Egypt, where he rose to prominence as second in command to Pharaoh. He ultimately reunited with his family and ensured their survival during a severe famine, leaving a lasting legacy in Egypt and within the history of the Israelites. Question 41. The name Israel was given to Jacob after he wrestled with an angel. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. This occurred during Jacob's return journey to meet his brother Esau. During the night, Jacob wrestled with an angel until daybreak, and after demonstrating his persistence, the man gave Jacob the name Israel, which means he who struggles with God. This event marked a significant turning point in Jacob's life and established the name of the nation of Israel. Genesis chapter 32, verse 28. Question 42. In Daniel's dream, his sheaf grew and the other sheaves bowed to it. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. In Genesis chapter 37, verses 5 to 7, Joseph had a dream where his sheaf stood upright while his brother's sheaves bowed to it. This dream, along with another involving the sun, moon, and stars bowing to Joseph, contributed to his brother's jealousy and ultimately led to Joseph being sold into slavery. Question 43. Potiphar's wife accused Joseph of trying to kill her when he refused to sleep with her. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. In Genesis chapter 39, verses 7 to 18, Potiphar's wife repeatedly tried to seduce Joseph, but he consistently refused her advances. When he fled from her, leaving his garment behind, she used it as evidence to accuse him of attempting to force himself on her. This false accusation led to Joseph's imprisonment, where he eventually gained favor with the prison warden and continued his journey to becoming a prominent figure in Egypt. Question 44. God sent 10 plagues to Egypt during Joseph's time. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. The 10 plagues were not sent during Joseph's time, but during the time of Moses. The plagues are described in Exodus chapters 7 to 11 and were God's way of compelling Pharaoh to release the Israelites from slavery. Joseph's story is detailed in Genesis, where he rises to power in Egypt after interpreting Pharaoh's dreams and preparing the nation for the coming famine. Question 45. The Egyptians stored grain during the 7 years of plenty, as Joseph had advised Pharaoh. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of this task, and under Joseph's leadership, the Egyptians stored large quantities of grain. This preparation ensured that Egypt would have enough food during the famine and allowed them to aid neighboring regions, including Joseph's family in Canaan. Genesis chapter 41, verses 34 to 36. Question 46. Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dreams in prison. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Joseph did not interpret Pharaoh's dreams while in prison. Instead, he interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker while in prison. Genesis chapter 40, verses 5 to 19. These interpretations ultimately led to Joseph's release and his subsequent opportunity to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. Genesis chapter 41, verses 14 to 36. Joseph's accurate interpretation of Pharaoh's dreams paved the way for his rise to power in Egypt. Question 47. Jacob worked for Laban for 7 years to marry Rachel, but was tricked into marrying Leah. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is true. In Genesis chapter 29, verses 18 to 25, Jacob worked for Laban for 7 years to marry Rachel. However, Laban deceives Jacob by giving him Leah, the older sister, instead of Rachel on the wedding night. This trickery led Jacob to work another 7 years to finally marry Rachel, resulting in a complicated family dynamic with both sisters as Jacob's wives. Question 48. Pharaoh's magicians were able to replicate all of Moses' miracles. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. Pharaoh's magicians could not replicate all of Moses' miracles. Initially, they could mimic some of Moses' and Aaron's signs, like turning a staff into a serpent and turning water into blood. However, they could not replicate later miracles, such as the plague of gnats, and acknowledged that this was the finger of God. This limitation demonstrated the superiority of God's power over the magician's skills. Exodus chapter 7 to 8. Question 49. The first plague in Egypt was a swarm of locusts that devoured all the crops. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. According to Exodus chapter 7, verses 20 to 21, the first plague involved turning the water of the Nile into blood, causing the river to become undrinkable and killing the fish. The plague of locusts, which devastated crops, was the 8th plague. This sequence of plagues reflects the escalating judgments against Egypt to persuade Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. Question 50. The 4th plague consisted of a severe thunderstorm with fire that destroyed crops and livestock. True or false? You get 10 seconds. The answer is false. The 4th plague was a plague of flies. Exodus chapter 8 verses 20 to 24 describes this plague, which brought swarms of flies into Pharaoh's palace and the homes of the Egyptians, causing great distress. The severe thunderstorm with fire and hail was the 7th plague, which damaged crops and livestock. Friendly reminder: become a channel member now and gain access to special benefits like personalized shoutouts in our videos, member-exclusive live streams, and downloadable study guides for each puzzle. Oh wow, what an incredible journey through the book of Genesis. As you go through these 50 true or false quizzes, do you find yourself discovering new insights and deepening your understanding of these foundational stories? Whether you aced a test or learned something new, remember that the book of Genesis contains rich stories and lessons that continue to inspire and guide us. If you enjoyed this journey through Genesis, why not share it with your friends and family? Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest quizzes, discussions, and Bible content. We have more exciting challenges and deeper discoveries. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through the book of Genesis. May your study of the Bible continue to deepen, and may you be inspired by the timeless wisdom of the Old Testament. We look forward to seeing you next time for more engaging Bible challenges.